Not sure why I turned that on. Okay, there we go. Hello again, everybody. This is Derek, aka Mr. Everything, and I am coming back at you with another Wargaming weekly video. Alright, so in today's video, my primary concentration or my primary focus is going to be preparing and base coating or putting some primary colors on these Prussian reservists. They are no longer reservists. They've been called into active duty for Waterloo. Basically, got a little spot on my board there. I might have to clean. Okay, but I'm using this website right over here, which you can see in the upper left-hand corner, to get my paint ideas and concepts, right? Okay. So I have 5 battalions here. They're all 24-figure battalions. There'll be 6 bases of 4 figures each. And I recently, I'm going to say recently, really it's been over a month now, I ordered a set of Prussian flags, and specifically targeting these 5 battalions. And then when I look at my list here that I made a long while ago, I have 6 battalions here. So I must have ordered an extra battalion's worth of flags. No big deal. I'll either sell them or I'll use them for a future battalion that I make. Okay, so I went through my battalion roster here. We'll go Prussia, line infantry, and these are all the battalions that participated in the Waterloo battle. Oh, the Ligny, the 100 Days battle, right? The Ligny and all that. The Belgique 1815. So I went through each battalion and I tried to determine which ones were the reservists that were called up to active service. And the reason why I'm doing that is because the miniatures I have here are reservists. There are 3 brands. We've got front rank command for 3 of these battalions. And then I've got Wargaming Atlantic Prussians plastics, which is the majority of the troops here on these 3 battalions. And then these 2 battalions are Old Glory reservists. Okay, so having said that, I didn't have enough Old Glory to do full battalions, but I had extra figures of the Wargaming Atlantic, because front rank comes with 6 figures in a pack. So that gave me 2 extra figures per battalion that I was able to put into here. So I have these 3 and these 3 are Wargaming Atlantic as part of my Old Glory battalions. Okay, so okay, I primed these this morning with Liquitex neutral gray, and of course it's a spray primer, and spray primers don't always get under they don't always get up under your miniature. So that's why I'm going to brush paint some steel gray over all of these. Now I'm trying to decide if I want to do ash or steel, right? Ash is a little bit darker, or slate, because it looks like there's like a blend here. Slate actually looks like it's, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a very small test on these and try to determine which one is the best, because I do want it to be very light. Now, let me jump to the 24th Infantry. That's one of the battalions that I will be doing. 24th Infantry, the 4th Brandenburg. Okay, it's 24th Infantry Regiment, but it's the 4th Brandenburg. I guess it becomes the 4th Brandenburg in 1816, I guess. But right here, the notes. Derived from the 4th and 5th Ersatz of the Lieb Regiment of the 3rd Ersatz of the 3rd East Prussian Regiment, which formed the 12th Reserve Infantry Regiment in 1813. In March 1815, the regiment became the 24th Regiment of Infantry. So it's the 12th Reserve Infantry, or it's the 24th Infantry Regiment. So that's an example. And then if you go to the uniforms, 1st Battalion, I could do 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Battalion, but I only ordered one set of flags for every battalion. Okay, so we go 1st Battalion, uniform. You can see it's mostly gray. There's a few officers and NCOs that have the blue. If you look at battalion headquarters, they've got the blue like the standard Prussians, but they're still wearing their reserve uniforms. So a couple of these battalions, I think it's the 23rd and the 24th, are just like that, right? So their majority is gray. So I want to make sure I get some light gray for the uniforms, because I don't know if you can notice this on the plate here. The jacket and the pants have a slightly different gray, but I don't think I'm going to worry about that. It's so minuscule and so minor that I don't think it's that big of a difference. But when it comes to their greatcoat, I'm going to make that a darker gray. I'm going to use a greatcoat gray, or a very, maybe a medium gray, which is going to be way darker, right? Okay. Now the jackets on the officers and the, let's see if I can back up quite a bit. Let's go to the 13th, because I think that's the first unit that was 1st Infantry Regiment. Yeah, 1st Reserve Infantry Regiment, which became the 13th. I'm just using them. That's just one of the options. But this blue here, that's a standard Prussian blue or whatever. And I have a Model Master from a few years ago called Prussian Blue, right? And it's a really dark blue. It's not like, this is kind of dark, but that's, you can kind of see there is a difference in the blue. If you go with like matte blue, it's still kind of a darker color. You can see it's almost a black. But this color, this P3, which is a Signar blue base, which is like their shadow blue, winds up being almost, I'm looking at the dried result versus the dried result. It's almost exactly the same. So I might be painting with this or this. I don't know. But I really like my P3s. I'm going to have to be honest. Okay, so let's get let's get started. We're going to do a test first. Right, let me try to remember. We're doing a test first. And if you notice, I haven't been streaming for the last couple of weeks. You know, it's been the holidays. That's the only reason. Had other things to do. Nothing nefarious or anything. Okay. Now let's change out my magnifying glasses. Okay, going on. This is going on very light. But it doesn't always dry that way, right? And I'm only doing a test, so I'm not like doing the entire figure. I'm just doing the pants area. I could do the entire figure, but I'll have to do that on a second. Once I've determined which one I like. Okay, so that will be slate gray. Okay, and that's going to be those guys right there. And then we're going to do one that's steel gray. This one is extremely thick. Okay, that should be good. Trying to get it to come out. Okay. Give it a little water. Okay, this one seems to be very light as well. What is this? Oh, steel gray. First one was slate gray. Two different brands, so you're gonna get, even though they might be exactly the same color, every company names their paints their own shade. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I might have put too much water in that, but that's okay. And then finally, we'll use this ash gray. And watch it be exactly the same color as well. And then it's basically Americana, folk art, and army painter. It's called War Paints from Warlord, but we all know it's Army Painter. Can't fool us. Okay, this one is a little bit darker going on. That doesn't mean It's still not as dark as the spray though, which is fine. That's totally okay. What I'm trying to decide is which one is closest to the color that I want it to be when I'm done. Okay, so there's my 3 tests. We're going to have to give it probably about 5 minutes before I can determine which one is the best. It looks like this one might actually be the best. I've got another gray. I've got this medium gray. I think it's too dark. But then again, I'm going to test it. Because these all seem to be too light. They might darken up when they dry. Paints like to do that. Okay, this has got something. I'm going to have to mix it up quite a bit. So how's everybody's holiday? Did everybody have a good holiday? You get everything you wanted on Christmas? Okay, there we go. Now it's starting to blend. Boom, 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 boom. If you did, great. If you didn't, that's okay. I'm sorry. Okay, while we're waiting, yeah, this is a lot darker. Whoa, I pushed out way too much. That's okay. It'll blend with whatever gray that I'm going to use. And then this will be the final countdown. No, the final test here. Oh, this, yeah, it's a little bit darker than those. I think it's a lot closer to the spray primer, but we'll have to see when it dries. Because this is medium gray, and the spray that I used was called neutral gray. Yep, that's definitely a darker gray. I think it's too dark. The reason why it reminds me of like the greatcoat or maybe their gaiters. Just looking on the screen here, you can see they've got these gray pants, but then they've got these darker gray gaiter types. I think that would be great for the gaiters and the greatcoats. Well, I do have a neutral gray right here. Didn't even remember this one. I was only looking at these grays up on the top. There's a basalt gray too, but he looks dark. But this neutral gray just looks dark. Maybe it's just not mixed. And then I've got that gray, but that gray is kind of like a blue gray, and I don't like it. It's great for Italian World War II uniforms, but yeah. So let's do a little update for this, for the channel, the store, miniatures, all that. I've got a couple of commissions that I have. Well, one of them has given me multiple things to do in multiple commissions, and I finished a number of them, but I'm on a specific commission for this one customer, and it's complete. And I'm doing them by units, basically. So this one unit is done. I notified him a month ago. He hasn't paid me for that. He's going through a little bit of a issue with his spouse and all that, and so I'm trying to be patient with him, so that's okay. But what that means is everything after that one unit, which is really only like 2 or 3 units more, I'm not touching. This is a policy that I've always had. If you give me a project, I finish it, and then you don't pay me for it, I don't work on your second project. Not until the first one is paid for. And then there's a second. So in that case, I started working on somebody else's commission. So I finished this other customer's commission. I notified him. And the same thing's going on with him. He had a loss in his family. Okay, that's bad, and I feel bad for him. But he still owes me for this commission. And it's been a long time, right? It's been almost 2 months. That is way too long not to pay for a commission. So I let him know, and this is just to let you guys know too, that after 60 days, you send me the stuff, it takes me a while, I paint it, I let you know it's finished, your invoice becomes due right then. Do I care? Do I charge late charges? No. If it takes you a month to pay me, okay. I would prefer it to be, less than 2 weeks. But if it takes you a month, okay. But after 2 months, I just close the invoice and I'll sell your miniatures. As far as I'm considered, you have abandoned your miniatures, or you have no way to pay, or something. Now, this guy, because, I feel for him, I offered to split his commission into 2. I said, if you can't pay for the full amount, at least pay for half of it, and then a month later, pay for the second half. And if I don't get at least half, okay, that's a nice color actually, but I think it might still be too dark. Okay, I think I put too much water, or it just poured out when I tipped that over. Okay, this neutral gray feels like it's the same color as this medium gray. It's a little bit darker. So you know what that means? I don't know what that means. That means this neutral gray could be used for gray coats as well, if I have to. Okay, so I've got these 2 commissions unpaid, so I haven't been working on any other commissions because I don't have any other commissions in the pike. I have this one customer, he's got multiple units, and then I've got this other guy, he wants to do multiple units, and I think he said he wanted to do some Hungarians after he got these figures finished. And that's great. I'd be glad to do them for him. But I'm not going to start a second project for this guy until at least his first one's paid. And if it winds up taking him 2 months to pay me, then I don't think I'm going to do business with that guy anymore. Just to let you know. I know it's none of your business, so I'm not giving you names or anything. Okay, so that's the commission part of it. So what have I been doing instead of the commissions? Well, I've been assembling these figures, obviously, and I've been putting together. I put together a second KGL unit, uh, Napoleonics as well. It's Peninsula. Um, I put together um, a couple of vehicles, uh, and I wound up doing an entire skeleton army. So I've got like an entire skeleton army, and then I pulled down from my Hail Caesar miniatures. I was basically going through my boxes, just seeing what kind of miniatures I had sitting on the shelf that were incomplete or waiting for me to do. And I had a bunch of Celts, uh, Gaelic or Celtic units. So I said, you know what? Let's just go ahead and finish these. So I painted a ton of. So I've got an entire Celtic army over there, an entire skeleton army. Now I based these guys individually on 1-inch squares because I fashioned them as units in the game called Oathmark. I don't know if you're familiar with Oathmark, but it is an awesome game. I love the mechanics of the game. Um, it is representing one figure is one man, right? Where, like Hail Caesar, I wouldn't think that. I would think, because if a 24 figure unit was like a maniple, you're looking at each man representing about 20 men, each figure representing about 20 men or so. It's a mass combat game. Where this Oathmark it's a skirmish game with formed units, kind of like old Warhammer Fantasy Battles, if you remember that. It's a lot like that. And so I painted those, and then in the process of me digging out all these old miniatures that I had that hadn't been put together or painted, I found a bunch of my old D&D figures, fantasy figures, like minotaurs and ghosts and water elementals and, just zombies, things like that, right? So I said, could any of these be used in Oathmark? Because Oathmark has army lists, right? And a few of them could. So I based them up specifically for Oathmark. Like I've got this troll, and I was going to put him on like a 40 by 40 base, like a Hail Caesar base. But then in Oathmark, I noticed that all their large monsters like that are on 50 by 50s, which luckily I've got a ton of those from the cavalry. So I put them on that. And then I put the Minotaur. The Minotaur, I've got a couple of Minotaurs that look like the base is too big for them, but I did it anyway because I wanted the uniformity of the army lists. So I got a bunch of D&D models. I mean, over 100 D&D models. Adventurers, puddings, spiders, what's the thing? Giant scorpion. You know, the list goes on. And elves and dwarves and humans and all kinds of fantasy figures. And so I started painting them and rebasing them. I had to rebase some of them because some of them were on old balsa wood bases that I had made in the 70s. Maybe 80s. Maybe 80s. I probably bought the miniatures in the 70s because I looked at some of the bottoms of these miniatures and they say like Raupartha 79 or Rapham or Grenadier. Oh my gosh, if you can remember those models. So I painted them all up. They look good. They look, well, some of them were already painted, but that was when I was brand new into the hobby and didn't know what I was doing, right? And now I consider myself a professional painter. I've repainted them, and wow, they are really good looking models. I mean, I'm tooting my own horn here, but if you're interested in a D&D fantasy model, check out my eBay store. If you're interested in some Napoleonics models, the only thing I got left up there is some Hanover guys, it looks like. But I will have some Prussians up there pretty soon. I still have a bunch of British. I still have a bunch of French that are unbuilt, unpainted, but they're still in the box. So they're good. I even have some Russians, but they're all in. I don't have any Austrians. I bought some Austrians, but then I sold them new in the box. So, okay. So I was still looking for D&D models, or I should say, when I was digging up my D&D models, I decided, okay, I'm going to paint all these. When I got done, I was like, okay, where are the base? I need these base. I need some Slaughter bases because a couple of these old Warhammer models, you know, have those Slaughter base bars on the bottom of them. Okay, before we continue, let me review these models. They should be dry by now. Okay, slate gray. Oh shit. Slate gray. It's exact. Okay, it's almost exact. Okay, 100% love slate gray. Okay, so far so good. That's 100%. Steel gray. It's hard to tell. I put too much water and it still hasn't dried. But it does look too light. Okay, I think that, well, it's obvious. It's too light. Put that over there. Ash gray. It looks perfect. Ash and slate, they match. Medium gray. Yeah, it's dark. It's dark. I can already see that right away. And then neutral gray. It's very close. Wow, the neutral gray actually comes out really close. A little darker maybe. Maybe just a little bit darker. Okay. But because I'm getting ready to do the entire thing, I don't want to use a little bottle like this if this will suffice. And it looks like it will. So we're doing that. Perfect. All right, so now I got to mix up a batch that's not too thin, not too watered down. And then I'm just going to redo them all. I'm just going to paint them all. Okay. I also did a video where I experimented with this AK Ultra Matte varnish. You should check that out. It came out with some pretty good results, but I think the spray is still better. I think the Ultra Matte is really good for if you can't put it outside, but it's not going to be my primary. I don't think it's going to be my primary. I think it's going to be an alternative to the bad weather and the stink. Okay, move everything over, because when I paint, I like to push it to the right or the left when it's done. And then once everything's been pushed over, then I know I've finished all these models. Okay, so I went looking for these slaughter bases, right? And I found some slaughter bases in a box of figures. Not a box of just bases. There were figures in that box. And so I went and I looked through all these figures, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just doubled my models. Now I've got 100 on the shelf, at least 100. That's probably 200 actually. Yeah, it's probably, no, 150. Let's see. No, it's probably 200. Yeah, so there's like 200 already finished on my store on the shelf. And then in the box, I finished probably another 50, but I didn't put them on the store because I found this second box which has a bunch of models in it that I'm going to finish that pair up with some of the ones I had already finished. So like as an example, I found a bunch of skeletons, but they're like old school. I even have like a skeleton dwarf. They're old school skeletons. They're metal, you know. Raupartha skeletons or whatever. And then I, what else did I find in that? Okay, if you remember the old skull chucker, there was an old Warhammer catapult in Warhammer that was for the undead army. Now, I played undead before undead was cool. And when I say that, I mean before vampire counts. I played undead before the vampire counts. I played undead before the Tomb Kings. You know, I played old 2nd edition undead, which was basically zombies, mummies, skeletons, necromancers. Well, that's my undead. My undead is zombie, skeletons, mummies, necromancers. Maybe vampire. Maybe a vampire thrown in there. But it wasn't like vampire counts. And it wasn't like the Tomb Kings. Even though the Tomb Kings is probably closer to the type of army that I had. I didn't really like vampire counts. Alright, so now all I'm doing is just trying to cover any metal that might have been exposed when I spray primed it. So I'm going from the bottom, painting upwards. If that makes any kind of sense. And there's quite a bit of metal. You can kind of see it. It's shiny. Okay, so my point is, not really a point, just information. It's not really a point. I started painting the figures, or organizing them and getting them ready to be painted, I should say it like that. And then I realized I didn't have enough slaughter bases for all the new figures that I found. I didn't have enough just standard 1-inch base for Oathmark. So, and some of these fantasy models have the 20 millimeter slaughter bases, but I'm trying to basically do a file, I'm trying to convert them into Oathmark armies, and that means they need to be on 1-inch bases. Halflings, humans, dwarves, they all need to be on 1-inch bases. And so I was going to Litgo, which I do. I really love Litgo bases. And they do slaughter bases. They're wooden, but they're 1-inch wooden slaughter bases. And so I ordered some of those 1-inch wooden slaughter bases to supplement my plastic slaughter bases for my 1-inch Oathmark bases, right? So then I decided, well, let's just go ahead and put these miniatures in a box over there. Let's not touch them until I get those new bases in, which I would anticipate maybe a couple of weeks, probably. Okay, I think I need to put a little bit more water in this. It seems to be too thick. These plastic models, they don't seem to have anything exposed. But you know what? I bet you that is because they were gray plastic. I bet you the plastic is exposed. It's just I don't see it. And the Wargames Atlantic Prussians were really easy to put together. One box comes with 60 models. 60! As opposed to like Warlord, which you get a Prussian box of 24 models for the same price. $30. So you're basically paying 50 cents a model for Wargames Atlantic. The problem is, and they're beautiful models, they look good, but the problem is they have no command. Zero command. That's why I had to go to, well, I didn't have to go to this company, but I did go to this company. I guess I could have went to Perry as well, but I went to Front Rank and ordered some Prussian Reserve command. Yeah. And remember, this gray color I'm putting on right now, it's really just a primer. It's an undercoat. It's not... Okay, now these guys are metal. These guys are the Old Glory metals. Okay, let me add some water because I can see it's not working. I mean, it is working, but it's just too thick. That might be a little too thick as well, but it looks pretty close. Yeah, so really I'm just covering the metal. Now, I thought about this earlier. I was like, I really don't need to do this. I could just, when I paint, just paint, because the primer would provide enough of a coating that the paint would stick just fine. But I'm also considering some of these units and some of these uniforms, are gray. So might as well just make them gray, because they're going to be gray anyway when I'm done painting them. Okay, sorry you're watching me prime these guys, brush primer, filling the gaps in the detail of the model, ensuring that every little crevice has some paint on it. Because it won't matter, because I'm going to go back and actually paint the model, and I'm going to put a wash, which is going to go down into all these little cracks that I'm filling right now anyway. But I'm just trying to be a completionist. I want it to look really good when I'm done. And boy, will it. It's going to look good. Okay, so what I'm saying about the fantasy figures, I decided just to set them in a box and wait for those bases to come in. And that's why I decided just to go ahead and work on these guys. That was a decision I just made like 2 nights ago. I started assembling them like a month ago, but then I stopped because I knew that I had ordered flags, and I can't really finish these units and sell them without their flags. I could sell them with just a flagpole, and I did actually consider that. But I think, like I said, I'm a completionist and a perfectionist, and I think they will just look better and sell better if they already have the flags. So I ordered the flags over a month ago, and so I expect them to be showing up any time now. Now I understand it's the UK, and I understand it's the holiday, so, but I decided I'm just going to go ahead and paint these and get them ready to just mount the flags. Even if I have to let them sit for a couple of weeks, I will, waiting for those flags to come in. So even though I'm actually going to be painting these over the next few days, I might not actually put them up on the store for a couple of weeks. Possibly. Okay, speaking of the store. Speaking of the store, I have an eBay store. You can find it by going to Mr. Wargaming in Miniature. You will find my available miniatures. Really? Okay, well, getting paint on my fingers for no reason. So if you want any World War II, any historical like medievals or fantasy, sci-fi, if I don't have it up, drop me a message and say, hey, I'm looking for this. If you're thinking or needing a new project, and failing that, what you could do is contact me about a commission, because I would definitely like to paint whatever models you have that you need painted. I would say just send them to me. and then I'll paint them for you. And I'll send you now if you contact me about the models, what I'll do is I'll send you an expectations list, which is kind of like a terms and conditions, if not exactly like a terms and conditions. So you'll know what I expect out of you and then what you can expect out of me. I have been working on a website for all that information. So I could just say, check out the website, And I recently started using PayPal invoices. So PayPal will actually email you the invoice with the terms and conditions and the product, shipping, taxes, all that, which I thought was pretty cool. Normally, if you contact me on eBay, I feel obligated to eBay to put your items on eBay, and then you pay through the eBay payment process. However you pay through eBay is fine. Because if I'm going to use their platform to locate customers, I should use their platform to collect the money from using their platform. The downside for putting up your product on eBay is my profit is way smaller, like 20% smaller. So if I ask for, let's say I just ask for $100 and you pay me $100, eBay will only give me like $80. So I prefer to do it off of eBay, but I also feel like if you contact me through eBay, then I should use eBay because I'm basically paying an advertiser or marketer or something like that. So that's one reason why I was going to create a website so that people can go direct, without having to use the eBay. I mean, you could email me, but most people wouldn't know where to look. You know what I mean? And I want to put up some photos and stuff of previous commissions so you can kind of see like what kind of work you can expect. But I'll tell you right now, the stuff I sell on eBay, the miniatures that I sell on eBay, is the same quality that I would do for a commission. There are some commissions that I would go a little extra. But most of the time, I do my best. Doesn't matter. Because to me, I think a customer on eBay that buys my miniature is still a customer, right? He's still someone that deserves a good model. So I will paint and I will put on eBay the same quality that I would paint and put up for an individual commission. And normally, just FYI, normally I charge about $6 a model. Normally. I had this one customer pay me $20 a model. I told him, I said, you know I don't charge $20 a model. And he said, I'm paying you $20 a model. And I was like, okay. So what I did was I put a lot of extra effort into those models. I made them, I highlighted and detailed and pinpointed, and you know, I cleaned and I sealed and washed, and I used putty filler and everything else to make sure those models were 100%. Not that my models aren't 100%, but those were 100%. And he was happy with them. There were fantasy models too, which those are like the easiest models to paint. He did have some strict colors that he wanted, which, hey, that's fine. He had some hair colors and some tops and some pants, and because what I think they were character models for players in his D&D game, I think. And so he wanted them to be the best. And they were damn good. Okay. I'll put a little bit more slate in there. Come on, drop, drop. And a little bit more water in there. To make sure it goes around. And yeah, so the website, it's not close to being finished. I keep, every time I mess with it, I come up with a different idea, and it's like I'm changing things constantly. It's almost like I've got like feature creep or something. Every time I work on it, I'm like, oh, what if I added this? And I'll put it down, I'll add that, and I'll put it down, and I'll come back to it, and I'll say, ooh, I could add this. Or I'll say, I don't like the look of that. I just added it, and I don't like the look of it. So, yeah, my website is struggling. One reason why it's struggling, I don't feel a pressure on me to get it done. It's like, it's nice and all, but I'm surviving without it, so why do I need it? You know, that's kind of what's going on with that. Okay, speaking of the website, and all that, I've been working on a set of miniature rules. You all know. I'm calling it Marshals Generals. Did I get that off there? I did. Nice. I'm calling it Marshals Generals. It's a core set of rules. So the miniatures, the units are battalions, just like Black Powder or whatever, just like any of these games. But the command and control level is going to be a little bit different. The shooting is going to be different. The dice rolling and all of that is kind of going to be different. Now, I've got a lot of inspiration from a bunch of other games, but I don't think there's any way for me to avoid that because I've played like 100 different Napoleonic set of rules, and I'm writing these rules in a way that they could be used for other genres or other, like American War of Independence or maybe even medievals. I mean, I don't know. I'm just basically making a Napoleonic set of rules, but with the idea that it's going to work for American War of Independence as well. And I'm keeping, I mean, it could work for, I don't know, French and Indian War, just like Black Powder. But that's not my goal. My goal is Napoleonics and American War of Independence. Those are the only two I'm really focusing on. But what I'm trying to say is, I haven't touched it in the last couple of, maybe the whole month. Maybe the month of December I didn't touch it. Oh. I got a little message saying that's not till tomorrow. Okay. It's giving me a 24-hour notification that I got an order coming in. Which I can tell you a little bit about. I ordered some Ziploc bags. Now, I ordered these bags because I've got some Litco bases that I bought 2 years ago, a year ago, when I was planning on doing Waterloo or at least Quatre Bras in 28 millimeter. And then when I switched to 15 millimeter, a lot of those bases became redundant. So, and I've got hundreds and hundreds of them. Because what do you need? You need about 6 per battalion, right? And if there's, just do the math, right? So, but I literally have hundreds and hundreds of them. So what I was going to do was box some of them up, not box them, bag them up with these Ziploc bags. I was going to bag them up into like unit size bags, like 6 bases or maybe 12 bases for 2 units. Probably 12. Because I think 6 is, the shipping is too expensive. You're not getting your money's worth is what I'm trying to say. And I'm not going to sell them 100 bases in a bag because, well, that's how I've got them over there. But, I mean, if you're me, yeah, you need hundreds of bases. But some people, like, they only paint like 5 units and they only need whatever 5 times 6 is. 30 bases. That's all they need. Or they don't want to spend, $60 on 100 bases or whatever. Which, I get that. So if I can sell like 12 bases for like $15 or something, then people will be like, oh, that's much better. So I ordered some bags just so I could specifically bag them up and sell them as little kits. I got some cavalry bases. I've got some 50 millimeter bases. I got some 40 millimeter bases. Now I'm not going to sell them all, obviously, because I'm still putting units together for sale. And if I'm putting units together for sale, I'm going to need bases for them. So I don't know how many I'm going to sell, at a time. Okay, I thought by adding a little bit of slate, I was going to cover these entire units, but I was wrong. Yeah, so I got those coming in. Okay, now the news. Let's talk about Wargames Atlantic. Just these models here. They're awesome and not expensive. And they are expanding their product line quite a bit. I mean, pretty rapidly. They're adding units. It seems like every month they're adding another unit type. The problem with Wargames Atlantic, and this is something that they're going to have to work out with their distribution manufacturing. They run out of inventory to people like me, and then they don't restock for like 3 months. So when they get it in, I got to really be on top of my game. I got to watch their fulfillment, and when they say we've just received it, I have to go, okay, let me place this order. I could always also place a pre-order so they would know how many I'm looking for. But the problem is I'll put a pre-order in, but it won't come in for like over 3 months, because that's how long it takes them. It seems 3 months. Yeah, 3 months is about right for them to get their product in. Old product. Like stuff that sells out. They get it in, it sells, and then you got to wait another 3 months before you can order it again. That's a problem. That just means they don't have, well, it could mean that they're just on a small budget, like me, and they just can't order 1,000,000 boxes. They've got to pick and choose how they're going to restock and stuff like that, which I fully understand that, because that's how I am with my little puny little store here. And one thing I love about Wargames Atlantic, they're not pushy. They don't call me every week saying, what are you ordering today? What are you ordering? You got to order this to stay on top of the game. You got to do this. You got to do that. I'm like, sheesh, come on, Wargames. Relax. That's Warlord, by the way. Warlord is very... I'm not going to say Warlord. I'm going to say my last rep was very pushy. After about 3 months of me not ordering anything from him, he stopped pushing. Now, my Warlord rep is moving on. He's going to either a different department or a different company, or he's not going to be my rep anymore. Hopefully this new rep is more like my last rep. Because my last rep was awesome. Worked with me, worked out orders, and was just overall awesome. So that should be coming in. I should be getting a new rep this month, actually. They said January at some point. I don't remember when, but back to Wargames Atlantic. Because they have new stuff coming out all the time, I'm constantly looking at the release schedules, and I noticed they've got some more World War II stuff coming out, which everybody loves some World War II. They got some British SAS/Commandos, which it looks like, based on what I saw in the box on the sprues, it looks like you can make just standard airborne troops out of those kits as well. Doesn't say that, but I think it does say it in the pictures, just not on the box. Because I think in the pictures it says, oh, airborne right here. Red Devils. Because some of them have maroon berets, and we know the commandos have green berets. Yeah, so it looks like they're going to have some British airborne coming in. I'm definitely going to order those. A couple lots of those, of course. Then I'm going to have to restock the Panzer Lehr, because those are their German grenadiers, and they look really good. And they're Italians, and they're French resistance. So those are the ones. I'm going to have to order a bunch of those. They also have Landsknecht Ogres, which I had I don't know if it was Ralparther or Grenadier or whatever it was, but I had this Landsknecht Ogre way back in the day in my Warhammer, was it Dogs of War Army or whatever it was. So I don't know how popular they are right now, but it would be cool just for nostalgia purposes. Just to get a box, paint them up, sell them. What else we got? They got some insects for their sci-fi game. Looks a lot like Starship Trooper type what do they call them? Not sectoids. Starship Troopers. They call them the bugs, but what were they? They were the sectoids? No. You had the skinnies and you had the bugs. But the bugs actually had a name. I'm trying to remember what they called them. If you know, post it in the chat. I can't remember. But they look a lot like that. Plus, they have goblins, which I have goblins on the store right now. The Wargames Atlantic goblins. But they have a set called, well, a set of spiders, where if you combine the spiders box set and the goblin box set, you can make spider riders. That is cool. And those work for Oathmark. All the Wargames Atlantic fantasy stuff works for Oathmark, which is great. Half of my undead army that I've got over there, well, 90% of the undead army that I have over there is from the Wargames Atlantic skeletons. Speaking of which, I found my Asbad Orc Tribe, Orc Horde, Asbad's Orc Horde box set. And when I opened it up, I'm like, all these sprues, and they were untouched. But they come with 20 millimeter bases, and so again, I need 1-inch bases. So I got some of those on the way. But they're not slotted bases, they're just regular old bases. Now I also ordered some thick bases. They have 3 thicknesses. You know, you got the 0.8 millimeter, the 1.5 or 1.6. It's twice as thick. And then the 3 millimeter. So I ordered a bunch of the 3 millimeter stuff because they are the same thickness as like the slotted bases. So it'll make it, they'll be like on the same level. Okay, so the gray is done. And we're going to be moving on to something like this, but only for 3 of the battalions. 2 of the battalions are going to be all gray. Well, mostly gray. The officers might just be blue. So knowing that I've got 5, I could do them all just gray, right? And just say they're various shades of the reserves. But let's start with the 24th. See, the 1st, 2nd battalion, all gray. 1st battalion, all gray. And that's officer and NCO. Even their cuffs are gray. It's just the collars in the front are red. The back side is gray. See that? So only the officers and NCOs. So definitely the 24th. And would I order the 23rd? The 23rd. Same difference. Red in the front. Cuffs are not colored. And these are red as well, right? Was the 24th red? They were. Okay, so the 23rd and 24th are red. All right, now the next one is the 22nd. The 22nd Upper Silesia. The 10th Reserve Infantry Regiment became the 22nd. And I could paint them like this. See, they're saying the uniform of the reserve, but here is the reserve in blue. That's these two guys. and some of them are in red, mainly officer and NCO. But I think yellow, like this guy right here, is the main uniform. They say that's the 10th Regiment. So we're going to paint him just like this. I might throw in a couple of guys like this, but mostly this officer, NCO, and infantry are going to be like that. Well, the officers are going to be red collars. The troops are going to be yellow. It's very weird that you would think that they would have exactly the same color. If you go to battalion headquarters, which is technically what these guys are because these are battalions, I'm going to paint the drummer like this. I'm going to paint the standard bearer like this, even though, you know, it doesn't show him. And the officers are going to have gray or silver sashes. Okay, 20 seconds. Is going to be blue and yellow. Okay. Now the 18th was the 6th Reserve. They have pink. Even the officers. Okay, hold on. Oh, the officers have pink. Yeah, so I'm going to paint them like that. Yeah. Like this guy or like this guy. Because that's the regimental uniform. This was back when they were the reserves. So blue and pink. Okay, I got 2 more battalions that I'm contemplating because I'm only going to do 5 of the 6 that I've got. That was the 18th. The next one is the 14th. Pomeranians. Now, for some reason, I'm thinking these guys are. See, this shows a gray pants, but for some reason, this is the only plate that shows a bunch of them in blue pants. Okay. The second rang, is that a second company? Because you got 4 musketeer companies and then the battalion. So it looks like black, or it looks like blue and white is their color. Yep. Blue and white, gray pants. Whoops. But the musketeers, one of the companies, the second, had blue pants. Okay, that's going to be fun, but it also is showing these guys as being in red. He's an under officer, so he's like a first lieutenant, second lieutenant, And then that guy's a captain. But that's a musketeer unit, the battalion headquarters. Okay. So there, it's a mix between white for the officers, even in the, yeah, white for the officers, red and blue for the companies is what it looks like. It's very weird. I can't take this for granted. I'm going to have to do a little research on this unit, the 14th. And then the last one is the 13th. Wait, during the campaign, this regiment remained in Mainz. Oh. Oh. Let's put a big X on that one. I'm not going to paint a regiment that didn't actually do anything. Okay, so if I go to organizational charts, Army of the Lower Rhine, there we go. So there's the 24th, and this is what it's showing me. It's showing me the uniform color. Like where this 124 is, that's the pants. The center part is the jacket, the sleeves, the cuffs, the collar. So the 24th is gray with some red. Okay, what about 2nd Brigade? Third Brigade. I'm looking for battalions that... Okay, there's the 13th. Wait, they said they weren't there. I'm not doing the 19th. Okay. Scroll. Can I go back a page? Oh, I can't. 2nd Army. The 14th is an option. Okay, they're saying gray pants, blue shirt, red, but the officers have white. Yeah, that's pretty much what I just wrote down. Am I doing the 22nd? I am doing the 22nd. But I've got yellow written down for some reason. They're saying they're red. 23rd is all gray with red. Yep. Huh. Okay, there's a couple of them with discrepancies that I'm going to have to research and work out. 13th I'm not going to use. Yeah, I got the blue out because I'm trying to determine which units actually have blue jackets so that I could just go knock, 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 knock those out. You know what I mean? Now, I probably need to take a marker and jot down which battalions each of these are so that I can stay on top of it. Okay. Where's my marker? There it is. So I think this one is going to be the 24th. So I put 24 on the base. This one is going to be the 23rd. Got it. This one is going to be the 22nd. These guys are all going to be gray. Now the 14th is the one with the weird company. And then the 18th, which is pink. Okay, but I do believe that the majority of these, I don't really need to worry about their cuffs right now, collars and cuffs. I just need to get their tops done, backpacks, boots, caps, flesh, all that stuff. And then I go in later with some collars and cuffs. Okay, they are ready to go. Okay, guys, I think that's where I'm going to call it on the video. You guys are awesome. You guys follow my channel. I appreciate all of you guys. No, let's do that one. Yeah, if you guys want any kind of work done, just notify me. I'll be glad to do some commission. If you like and subscribe to the channel, I appreciate it. Be sure to hit the notification icon and the bell so that you can be notified whenever I go live. I am going to go live tonight at 7 o'clock with my D&D game, but you might have noticed if you follow my channel that I do a lot I've been doing for the last month or so. I've been doing a lot of Skyrim, and I'm really digging it. I'm modding. I'm changing up the mods from time to time. I'm breaking the game, but I can revert. You know, if I break it, I can always go back to my last save or whatever. But I'm really enjoying Skyrim. I haven't played it in almost 10 years. I played it when it first came out, and I played it maybe a year or so after it first came out, and I played quite a bit, but it kind of got overwhelming for me, so I stopped playing it. It hasn't gotten overwhelming yet in this playthrough. I think it's because I'm really enjoying the modding and making it look like a 4K game. I'm really enjoying it. The Star Citizen, if you follow me because of Star Citizen, I want to let you know that I am very, very disappointed with Cloud Imperium Games and Star Citizen. I haven't played Star Citizen in probably a month, and I was anticipating 317.3 to change to 318 in December, and then sometime in March or so going to 4.0. Well, they went to 317.4. They pushed back 318 till probably February. And then we probably are going to see a 319 in June. And we probably won't see 4.0 until next October, August, October. So that I'm not too terribly upset about that. That you can only do what you can do with a game, right? So you can't put a game out. You can't put a game out that isn't finished or isn't ready. So I get that. But what made me upset about it is how they're going about it, or how they're not reacting to it, or how they're portraying it on their live streams, is that everything's good, everything's hunky dory, we're moving on as scheduled, and all this stuff. But when I watch the videos, and this is the crux of it, when I watch the video, they will pull a video out and they will talk about something like it's new, right? They'll say, oh yeah, we've got this gun and it shoots straight, and I'm like, but don't you already have like 100 guns and they all shoot straight? So why is that news? It's not. And then they go, oh, but we got this planet, and this one plant is on this planet. I don't give a shit about that stuff anymore. Early on, I cared about all of it. New guns, new ships, new plants, the fact that they got their act straight with the planetary landings and the gravity, and early on, I cared about all of that stuff. And I was like, wow, this is all super cool, right? It got me super excited about this game. But then after about 8 years of following this game, it's older than that, right? It came out in 2012, right? So, or I should say it started development 2012. And we are in 11 years, right? This October will be 11 years. They just had their 10th anniversary. About 8 years in, I'm like, everything is the same. It's not that they're not pushing forward, because they are. They are releasing new stuff, but it's so insignificant that I'm like, I'm totally embarrassed for them, right? And it's gotten to the point now, 2 years into this embarrassment, that I'm starting to get upset. I'm starting to get upset at these guys, or frustrated, maybe not upset, frustrated that I'm not getting what I expected. I thought when I backed in 2012, I didn't back in 2012. I backed in 2014. When I backed in 2014, 9 years ago, I thought I would wait about 5 to 6 years to be able to play this game. A year later, they came out with, a way for me to walk around in my hangar. Wow, that was a big improvement, right? And then we could fly our ships, and we could walk around the little city that they don't even use anymore. And that's the next crux. Lately, the last 2 years or so, everything is a redo of something they've already done. Like they will take a planet or a city that works fine, functions better than any other game out there, and they say it's not up to standards. We're going to have to change this and this to make it work the way we want it to work. I get that. I get that you want to make improvements, but those improvements you're making are unnecessary, and it's causing the rest of the game to be delayed. And it's just like, as an example, I mean, this is not truly an example, but they've got a city on a planet. It was one of the first cities, and they put an artificial force field wall that you can't move through, so you can't take your ship down and fly between the buildings. Then they released another city on another planet where you can fly down between the buildings. So they want to go back to the first city and change the entire city. Now, I understand if they wanted to go back to that city and just remove the limitations and allow us to fly between the buildings, but that's not what they want to do. They want to go back to the original city and just redo everything and then allow them to fly between the buildings. Unnecessary work, which is delaying the game. Then there was supposed to be a single-player game that was supposed to come out in 2016 called Squadron 42, which I understand 2016 was probably a little hard target to shoot for. So I was thinking, 2018. That seems reasonable to give them a little bit of a 2-year buffer. It's 2023 and it's not out yet. I understand that the game is breaking ground on a lot of things that no other game has done, but my point is, I don't care. I'm to the point where you broke all this ground. Okay, great. You made something that nobody else has made. Great. Make a game. Don't keep breaking ground. It's called feature creep. People talk about it all the time, and I'm like, no, they're not creeping. They're just, experimenting and learning new ways to do things. That's the way it was when I was young, 12 years ago. But now I'm saying it's feature creep because it's 11 years into the project, and every time they make something, they discover a new way to do it, so they scrap this thing and they redo it. And it feels like the game is, and this is what's causing me to feel that the game is stagnant and it's not going anywhere because they're redoing everything that they've already done. So that's where I'm at with Star Citizen. War Thunder, I've uninstalled it, not playing it. I only play IL-2 when it comes to the aircraft. I love IL-2. I tried DCS for a while. DCS is more for those serious sim players. There are some things in DCS I really like. In the cockpit, I can click on buttons and switches, where in War Thunder you can't do, not War Thunder, IL-2, you can't do that. You have to have hotkeys set up to do all that, which that's fine. I can go through and make and they came out with this thing that allowed you to make a set of hotkeys for every plane. So technically, if the plane doesn't have a certain switch, you don't need a hotkey for it. But I don't want to learn a new cockpit every time I get into a different airplane. So I know that's realistic, but I'm a gamer, not a pilot, right? Okay. So I'm not dogfighting. I'm not shooting people in World War II. They're getting ready to release. They just released Normandy, and they're getting ready to release the second edition of their World War One. But the problem with the second edition, and it's only a problem because I make it a problem. It's not a problem because it's a real problem. It's just a problem that I perceive. I personally make it a problem because they're putting planes in the game that I don't want to fly. That's my own personal problem. I want to fly some early war junkers, right? I want to fly an Eindecker. I want to fly an Albatross 2. I want to fly a Newport 17. I want to fly some early war planes. They do have the SPAD 7 and the Sopwith triplane, right? Those are the earliest planes they've got in there. But the Germans are flying D7s, right? If I was to go in there with a SPAD 7 and he's got a D7, I've lost. If I go in with a triplane and he's got a D7, I've lost, right? So I don't want to fly the Snipe. I don't want to fly the planes that went up against the D7. I want to fly early war, and I want to fight against early war. I'd love to see a DH-2. That would be so cool. I would love to see an Albatross 2. I would love to see, 1916, 1918 planes, not early war planes, not end of the war planes. And that's my personal beef. I would also like to see in their World War II line, I would love to see them jump into the Pacific, but they are, or even earlier than that. I'd like to see, not so much the desert and not so much Battle of Britain. Those have been done so much by so many people. I want to see the Pacific. I want to see a Hellcat, Wildcat, Avenger, a Devastator, a Dauntless Dive Bomber, a Zero. I'd love to see all those. Kate, Aval. I would love to see all that. Islands, you got to fly from island to island and bomb carriers or something. I would dig that. Okay, so that's the IL-2. I don't play DCS because it's too complicated. It's too simmy for me. I mean, I even tried playing Like when I was playing War Thunder, I tried playing sim mode. I didn't enjoy it. I tried playing arcade mode. It's a arcade felt like a video game, uh, like a Mario Brothers game, but realistic in War Thunder seemed like a good balance in between the two. And IL-2 is realistic with a little bit of sim involved. It's a little bit of sim. If I wanted to go full immersion and go sim with IL-2, I could, but I'm a gamer. I'm not a sim player. I'm not a pilot. Okay, so that's IL-2. Not playing War Thunder anymore. Star Citizen, I'm still waiting for something that I'm interested in playing. It's just too. I'm just getting too frustrated with them backpedaling all the time. But Skyrim. Oh, speaking of Skyrim. Okay, so I'm playing Skyrim, but not because Skyrim's a good game. It is a great game. It's an awesome game. It's better than I even remembered. Because remember, I said I played like 10 years ago. There's a new game coming out called Starfield. Starfield is probably going to be what I wanted Star Citizen to be 10 years ago. Starfield is Skyrim in space. It is Fallout in space. Because Skyrim and Fallout are very similar games, mechanically. Not genre-wise or whatever. But mechanically, they're very similar games. I have no interest in a post-apocalyptic Fallout-style game. None. Zero. Right? But when it comes to like swords and sorcery, dragons and orcs, I'm into that. So I'm playing Skyrim. And I got back into Skyrim because they made an announcement about Starfield. I watched a couple of videos about the Starfield game developer, the main developer. Because I like to get into people's heads and see where they're coming from, like what their ideas are. And he seemed like the same guy that I played D&D with back in the 70s. He talks about the games the way I would talk about the games. He remembers old games in maybe games I don't like, maybe he likes that game, but the way he talks about them was the same way I talk about games that I used to play that I liked. And then he mentioned this one game, and my adrenaline went through the roof. I passed out. He talked about Traveler. You probably know I love Traveler. I've got a whole wall or whole bookshelf full of Traveler books. I have played Traveler since 1977. I've been playing Traveler. Traveler has gone through a bunch of editions. Some of them I don't like. Right? There are a few of them I don't like. Some of them I like more than others. Some I hate more than others. But the general world, the universe hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is how you roll the dice. And when he said that Starfield was going to be Traveler, I was like, I passed out. Let's just say it. I passed out. I blanked out. And when I woke up, the video was over. No, I had to go back and watch it. He said that he played pen and paper Traveler when he was a kid. And it was one of his favorite games. That's what I say. He said he's wanted to do this game for a long time, but wasn't sure if they had the technology or the techniques or whatever to get it done. And then when they did Skyrim, and it became the most popular computer game of all time, that he worked on Skyrim. They tried what's a game called Fallout. They tried Fallout, but there were some technical problems that they kept running into with Fallout. And then they tried a multiplayer version of Fallout, Fallout 76. It failed. So they wanted to go back to their roots and do Skyrim in space. And Skyrim in space means traveler. And I was like, that when I heard that, I was like, I was excited. About a year ago, somebody came on my stream when I was playing Star Citizen and asked me if I was going to be playing Starfield. And I didn't know what that was. I was like, probably not. I mean, I'm not really into games that I've never heard of or whatever. Whatever. And then for some reason it popped. Maybe it's because I started playing Skyrim. I don't remember. It popped up on my stream. There was an interview with like Lex Freeman, and before that there was at Bethesda they had their own little talk about it. And I was like, okay. Now here's my problem. I'm not going to want to play Star Citizen. It's an MMO. It is an MMO. And Starfield, it's not going to be an MMO. It's a single player game like Skyrim. But it's going to be so open world like Skyrim that you could go from planet to planet. You could go all over the planet. It reminds me of Star Citizen. And I'm thinking, okay, one of these is going to be better than the others. There's nothing wrong with playing both. I can play the MMO and then I can play the single player. No problem. But I'm going to want to put more time into one or the other. And with Star Citizen pissing me off and frustrating me, I've pretty much consigned myself. I'm going to get Starfield. I'm going to play it. I'm going to play it a crap ton. When it comes out next month, I will buy it and I will play it on stream. I'll play it live or I won't. I don't know. The only downside is their content creation. They're going to have modders making mods for the game, but they're going to charge for those mods like a monthly service fee or whatever. And I don't know if I want to do any of that. So I'm just going to play. And I'll put that on the stream and we're going to have a good time. So look for that coming up. So once I made that decision, I said, which was about a month ago, I said, okay, let me get back into it and try to like wrap my head around this and see what Skyrim's all about and kind of remind me of what I'm anticipating in the near future with Starfield. And I've been back into Skyrim, and it's way better than I remember it ever being. Mainly because I really wasn't thorough in the old days. I used to just fly through a game. Like I would get the quest and I would go on the mission and I would just beat up the monsters and run back and get the money and turn in the quest, and then I'd go on my next quest. I'm not doing any of that right now. And that's why I think it's way better. I'm stopping, I'm talking to all the NPCs, I'm actually getting in and changing the graphics and stuff with the mods. I'm updating like armor sets and uniforms. I don't want to get something in the game that makes me better or stronger. I don't want that. It's a single player game. I'm not hurting anybody. It's not, I mean, I could become, godlike power in the game, run around and destroy everything, and I'm not hurting anybody else's experience, except I'm hurting my own experience. It makes it too easy. So I'm just playing. I don't want to play on like extreme difficulty either. So I'm just playing on a mid-range difficulty. It's not easy. It's not difficult. It's right in the middle. And no mods that affect how strong I am in the game. But I have added a bunch of like animation mods, like weather mods, and like if it's snowy or raining or foggy, or those mods are awesome, and it makes the game look like it was made this year. So I'm super excited about that. So because I've been playing so much Skyrim, my XCOM Mass Effect playthrough has kind of been slowed down a little bit because I was putting a lot of effort into that. So now I've changed gears and I'm playing Skyrim, and XCOM has been pushed to like every third day instead of every day. And my IL-2 is the same thing. I'm playing that about every third day and not every day. Okay, let me think. That's the computer. That's where I'm doing computer-wise. I am looking forward to I'm looking forward to Starfield, but I am also super enjoying Skyrim. I will have these guys, these Prussians, painted, and I'll put them up on eBay. This is not going into my personal army. These are all going up on eBay. Speaking of which, eBay. Good. I'm glad you guys got to the last part of this video. eBay. My store. I went through, I'm doing a new website, but I'm nowhere near being finished with that. So I decided to go through my eBay store, go through all my different items, and reassess what the prices are. Usually the prices were too high, so I lowered the prices a little bit. So I've got new prices as of the first of the month, and so there's lower prices on eBay right now. You can expect to see quite a bit of fantasy because I've got a bunch of fantasy figures over there on the table. I'm not doing anybody's commission until I get some payments for my commissions. Once I get these guys done, I'll probably do some World War II figures. Right now, I'm not doing any World War II figures. Oh, my Napoleonics. My Napoleonics, they've been sitting there for a month. Haven't touched them. Remember I said I haven't been doing anything with my rule set or anything? For the last month, nothing. It's all been holiday events that I've been doing and stuff like that. So, but this month, I'm starting to get back into it. We're gonna get some painting. I'm gonna get some more 15 millimeter stuff done. Maybe even some Ancients or some American War of Independence. I don't know, but definitely Napoleonics. All right, so I'm going to let you guys go. It's a little bit after 1 o'clock. I'm going to get some lunch. I'll probably jump into but continuing on with these guys. Come back next Wednesday and see the progress of these guys. Hopefully I'll have my flags in by then. All right. I'll catch you next time.